Hey, spectators, thanks for tuning in. This is Joe, and I'm here to talk about all things about the fan experience in Silicon Valley sports. Today, we're going to talk about some business deals, updates on some homegrown players who have come back to the Bay Area, and one historic win. Cue the music. Silicon Sports Spectator begins again. Glad to have you on, as always, especially to our subscribers. Your faithfulness and loyalty is unmatched. Thanks, Mom, for tuning in. I'm going to begin actually with a story outside of Bay Area sports. So this may not even be that interesting to you, but I think it does raise, just as sports fans, maybe some interesting questions. And that is one of my non-Bay Area sports teams that I follow closely is from the English Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur, who just yesterday, for the first time in 17 years, won a major tournament. This is incredible, especially in kind of a weird year that it's happening. Tottenham won the Europa Cup, or the Europa League Cup, and beating Manchester United in a 1-0 victory. Let me tell you, I was super excited. I was watching this match midday, and a lot of build up to it. And it's been such a weird year for Tottenham in that they have had one of their worst years in a long year on the Premier League side, but yet in this one particular tournament in Europa that they've been dominant. They obviously won the tournament, but went undefeated in this whole tournament that played out over a series of months. Super cool. The big news, of course, for Tottenham is the long joke against them is that, they're kind of always the bridesmaid, but never the bride. Like I say, it's been 17 years since, as a club, that they've won any level trophy. I think the last one they won was an FA Cup. And to do this was great. And there was just so much exciting among the fan base. I admit, I'm a relatively new fan to their club. This was something that I could pinpoint it exactly when it was. About 10 or 11 years ago, it was when my daughter was first born, and when I'd wake up with her early in the morning, and there was me just kind of chilling with her, they would throw on the TV, and what was the only thing on in those early hours but Premier League soccer. And as I was just kind of getting used to who the clubs are and everything like that, I was attracted to Tottenham. At that time, they were beginning to surge in those early years of Harry Kane, and they caught my attention, and I just began to develop this loyalty to that club, and it's grown a lot since then. From those years, but even in that short amount of time, 10 years of following them, is I definitely have experienced exactly what they're kind of known for. These Spursy moments, as they have lived up to their own nickname, in that they have these terrible moments of grabbing defeat from the jaws of victory. Is that how the phrase goes? But you get the idea. More disappointment than things to celebrate. And meanwhile, while some of their peer clubs, have had wild successes and everything, have certainly experienced a lot of that emotional roller coaster that they're fans of them. So just yesterday, with them winning this tournament, and I'm excited. I'm watching the match, and watched a lot of games from this particular tournament over the several weeks. But let me tell you, to see the fans in London, North London, where they play, tears streaming down their faces and everything like that. And I'm thinking, what's the disconnect right now with me? And I'm like, I'm excited. I was invested in this particular tournament. Got their flag flying outside my house right now. And but what is it about this tournament that it just couldn't get me excited? In some ways, is I talked to other friends about this tournament, for those who are interested in European soccer, that they kind of shrugged it off, thinking, look, this is the equivalent of the NIT tournament for European soccer. It was sort of like a consolation prize, if you will. But yet it was still so meaningful for Tottenham Hotspur. I was trying to think what the equivalent was in the Bay Area here, or just even as U.S. fans, what we can liken this to. I thought of the NBA in-season tournament, which was a very new thing, and it's something that, we're excited. I remember that, when the Warriors have competed in the last 2 years, those were always high-stake games. We were excited about it, but it's also sort of a meaningless trophy. It's like, could you even remember who won the first two? I do. It was the Lakers and the Bucks, respectively. But in both of those cases, it almost meant nothing for the full season. Maybe a little bragging rights among friends, so to speak. And that tournament's young. That's just 2 years old. But that's kind of what was matched my level of excitement for Tottenham winning this particular tournament. And I was wondering if we're ever going to get to a place in the United States where these in-season tournaments really matter a lot. We'll talk about one later today with the San Jose Earthquakes in their U.S. Open Cup tournament. And, that's happening right now. They're making some good waves in there, but it's, almost impossible to find on TV, and there's not a lot of talk about it. And it's too bad. I think these are a lot of value, and where the rest of the world seems to put a lot of value and meaning on these tournaments, we in the US kind of overlook them. And like I say, I'm really curious to see if that will ever change. But I would love to see it. I think these are a great way, to engage fans, add some higher stakes to maybe a lower point, in the season. I harken back even, maybe another example of this is, the NHL in replacing their All-Star game, they did that mini international tournament, and that was just 4 teams, 4 international teams made up of NHL players, and that was so cool to watch. And it sounds like that's going to remain a ongoing thing, at least for the short term. The NBA is going to switch their All-Star game format to try this international thing out too, maybe to try to capture some of that same excitement that the NHL experienced. But also, I think they're eyeing these European tournaments as well, where those have been kind of the gold standard of fan engagement and interest and everything like that. And that will be what's going to be a big determining factor is, will TV audiences latch on to these in-season tournaments or off-season tournaments, however you want to, call them. I think the NBA, for example, has an opportunity to do this more with to showcase their teams on an international basis. Again, there's more international leagues in Europe, Israel, wherever, where players, where there's a high level of competition. And I'd love to see NBA teams, for example, take on some of those. I'd love to see like a tournament where hockey, where the KHL's best plays the NHL's best. And sometimes we might see a exhibition game like that over in the preseason, for those leagues. Those are hardly even televised and such. So I'm really curious to see if that will ever take off. Yet to be seen, but at least for now, I just want to take this moment during this segment, just to really celebrate my club. How often is it that I get to do that? Well, again, maybe once every 17 years. Hopefully this will be a new trend for Tottenham, and how cool is that? I'm excited to celebrate with them. I feel a little bad because I did have the opportunity to go to London earlier this year, and I canceled it last minute, like a week before my scheduled flight. And in part, it was because Tottenham was doing so poorly in the Premier League, and I'm like, I don't want to see them when they're awful, but now I kind of regret it. So, leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are about whether you think that these international or alternate tournaments, let's say, if these are just kind of a flash in the pan money grab things, or if they really are, great. Are you interested in them? Are you anxious to see some of our American leagues take these on? Even on that note, too, actually, one of the topics I was going to bring up related to football, just the Olympic Committee announced with the Olympics coming to Los Angeles here in a couple of years, we are also announcing that flag football is going to be one of our home country sports that we're going to feature. And this is a new Olympic sport, of course. And not only has the announcement been made about flag football, but that the NFL Players Association has agreed to let its players, or the NFL League, probably in conjunction with the Players Association, has let its players participate in the Olympics for this. And so there's all this kind of new interest and debate about who's going to be the best pieces to join that team. I don't know how the squads are going to look. It's probably not 11 on 11. So, is it 5 on 5? I don't know. I'll have to learn a little bit about the sport. It's funny, and I'm so protective. It's like, I think of my Bills and Josh Allen. It's like, hey, he'd probably be a good person to have on that squad, but it's like, I don't want him to get injured, though. So I'm really protective of it. So anyways, we'll see how that all goes. But talking about, following up to my point about Tottenham and these other leagues. Could even something like flag football in a new format, showing off the sport. Is that good for it? I think too of the NBA and it's what's that league called? Is it Big Three or whatever? The 3-on-3 tournament. A lot of players after they retire kind of move over there just to keep their game fresh, and it's exciting basketball. Even if it's sort of just a relatively short season, the WNBA has its own 3-on-3 league as well too. I guess the more I talk about it, the more I'm seeing these opportunities pop up, and I don't think the fan interest is quite there yet. Whereas in Europe, I think they very much accept it as part of life. So maybe it needs a little bit of time to marinate and develop, but we'll see how it all goes. All right, let's talk some more business, actually. So switching gears here now to football. I think this is, I'll say, my sports business segment here. That 49ers, a couple of big announcements over the past week. First off is they sold a minority ownership stake in the club. It was 6% of the club, but that put a valuation of the club at a record $8.6 billion. And so even though it was just a 6% stake that was sold to some local Bay Area families, I think 3 families that all kind of have VC roots. Yeah, $8.6 billion, a record for any United States sports franchise. That's huge. It's great to see the 49ers valued so high. That also helps set the bar for other clubs too, whether they're considering sales as well. I always think of these sports franchises as passion projects more than anything, is that you would do it more for the love of the team and not because of a financial thing. But as you can see how these valuations grow over time, that you can look at it as a business. Not that I'm going to be buying any one of these things when I can hardly even afford tickets, but yeah, anyways, certainly very significant to see that valuation. And welcome to our new owners. 49ers also made some important transactions. The Brock deal. Brock Purdy has finally signed his contract, 5 years, $265 million, 181 guaranteed there. So we kind of were waiting all summer for that. I think we're all happy with that number. I think the 49ers are excited to shift gears and work on this year. Fred Warner, another big contract that was signed, 3 years, $63 million. He becomes the highest paid linebacker in all of the NFL. The 49ers now have a top quarterback signed. They got the highest paid linebacker, highest paid tight end. So all these important positions now kind of signed, sealed, delivered. Now let's focus on getting our team back into a playoff position. Next up, one other sports business news that I thought was pretty significant, but didn't get a lot of press or anything. In some ways, it wasn't a surprise, but I think it's an important one nevertheless. And that was the city of San Jose, and Santa Clara County for that matter, recommitted itself to downtown San Jose, especially in likes of where the Sharks will continue to play. That's important because the Sharks now play in a 30-year-old stadium, maybe a couple years older than that, 35 years, getting close to, in SAP Center and so forth. And so it's hard to think of that as an aging stadium, but it is. In fact, it's probably one of the older ones here in all of NHL hockey, especially as, other clubs have gotten new facilities, in that time. But the city of San Jose has recommitted itself to investing in that particular property, but also in making a sports and entertainment district around downtown into the arena. What that kind of means for fans here too is that, today, if you were to say grab a beer before the game, for a Sharks game in downtown San Jose, you grab a beer in San Pedro Square or whatever, it's all good. You can't leave that. You have to, consume and purchase, the beverage there. Now that you can kind of envision, hey, I'm going to grab my beer, dinner and stuff downtown, San Pedro Square, etc. But then I'm going to walk over to the arena with my beer in hand and through this connected sports and entertainment district. Like, that will be allowed for one. So that would be, I think it'll be a nice thing. I could also kind of see some security problems and so forth. I'm more optimistic than I am pessimistic about it. I still think this is good news. One of the other things is that Guadalupe River Park, that is right adjacent to SAP Center in downtown, that's sort of long been an eyesore and an overlooked part. And truly, it's something that at least, the city of San Jose, has said, hey, we're going to make extra efforts now to clean this up, to make this a more usable space. And so they didn't go into a lot of specifics, but I'm anxious to see what that becomes, because I think that really is a huge opportunity for the community to make that. It does have the potential to be a really nice park. I mean, today we kind of struggle with homeless encampments there and just a lot of disrepair in general, about that park. It's hard to even think, but it's like, we have a river going through downtown San Jose, and we walk right over it and don't think much about it. It's kind of an ugly concrete jungle, and I think of, this is probably an extreme one, but like the city of San Antonio, we in San Jose sort of compete who's the 10th largest city in the United States, and it's kind of us and San Antonio about the same size. San Antonio has that beautiful river walk, in its city that for a long time that river walk was just, maybe like in San Jose, it was just a completely forgotten and neglected part of the city. It wasn't used for anything, and then they've done a great job of making that a great retail and mixed use space, and cool bars and everything right along the river walk and such. San Jose is not said they're going to do anything like that, but I love that we want to make that area more usable, beautify it more. Is that a word? Beautify. This is a 25-year commitment plan that the city of San Jose has done. Continue to invest in the SAP Center. That was happy to hear, especially in an era where we've seen Bay Area teams leave and for better stadium deals or whatever. And it's great because I think that especially for SAP Center in downtown San Jose, this is hugely important. It's really is so important to downtown San Jose. Can you imagine, even right now when the Sharks aren't very competitive and the ticket sales are way down, you take that away, like there's almost nothing in downtown San Jose. So to have them reinvest around this, I think totally makes sense for the city. And also I hope to see it build even more. As Sharks fans, I think this is a very exciting news and see how this all develops. Since we're talking about hockey, just a really couple of quick items. I think our last week episode, we were just talking about the London Knights from the OHL, and they were on the verge of winning the OHL championship, which they in fact did. In Game 5, the London Knights won the OHL championship. Kasper Hatanen, who had such a great series, I think he ended up with 8 goals in the finals. Yes, 2 hat tricks and a total of 8 goals. Was voted playoff MVP. It's hard to argue his numbers in the finals there. But Sam Dickinson, of course, our star defenseman prospect. Also, he was my vote for playoff MVP, but that was until Kasper did his magic trick. But yeah, how cool is that? Very cool for the London Knights. It's actually a back-to-back championship for them. But, as far as San Jose Sharks fans, it is just really exciting to see 2 of our top prospects perform so well in meaningful games. So excited to see what these guys are going to do this year in camp for the Sharks, and maybe they can even crack the roster. So congrats to both of them, to the London Knights. Also happening right now, mid NHL playoffs and such, which are really cool to watch. We have that World Cup of Hockey, that's the International Ice Hockey Federation going on, that's being played over in Scandinavia right now. Team USA is just advanced to the semifinals today. They will be playing Switzerland in this next semifinal round. Team Canada plays Denmark in their quarterfinal match tomorrow, and they've been performing well. But Denmark's one of the hosts of this particular tournament, so maybe that gives them a little bit of an edge. I saw that Will Smith today had another assist on one of the goals in the Team USA game. Macklin Celebrini continues to do his thing. Watch out for the Swiss, though. That's who the U.S. will be playing in their semifinal round. Timo Meier, especially former San Jose Shark, playing on Team Switzerland, and I think they're undefeated in this tournament so far, and they have looked phenomenal. So that's going to be a tough match for the Team USA. Sharks coach Ryan Warsofsky, of course, is coaching Team USA, so definitely rooting for Warzy there. Will Smith on Team USA. Anxious to see how that all plays out. All right, let's talk a little baseball here next. Just a couple of notes, on the Giants. One of the biggest games there was Wilmer Flores. Have yourself a day. 3 home runs in a single game. 8 RBIs. He followed that up, that huge stat game with a 1-0 game. He had the walk-off walk for the Giants to win a game. So how cool is that? For a moment, I have to check it today, but he was the RBI leader across all of Major League Baseball. Wilmer Flores, you get my star of the week. A couple of the things, the Giants most recently just played a series against the Kansas City Royals. Took 2 of 3 in that one. But what was interesting was I was watching those games was there was 2 local Bay Area alumni, I guess. First, they were both on Kansas City. Chris Bubich was alumni of Archbishop Mitty, my alma mater too. So that was great to see. He was with the starting pitcher on Wednesday's game, a game that He ended up getting the win, I think, there for that one. No, excuse me. Chris had the Monday start. He had the loss. Chris started the opener for Kansas City, which was a loss for them. Another one of their relief pitchers on Kansas City, Lucas Ursig, actually came out of San Jose, or more specifically Campbell, went to high school at Westmont High. The funny thing there is these two pitchers on the Kansas City Royals have these common roots in being San Jose based. And so I always joked about Westmont High that that's where like all the bad kids that got kicked out of Midi would go to. It was one of the schools that they would end up going to. So anyways, Ursa got lit up too, though he pitched in a win. But he gave up a few runs as the Giants made a little bit late comeback, but fell short in their third game against Kansas City. So Chris Bubich, Archbishop Midi grads, Lucas Ursig, Westmont graduate. Good to have you into the Bay Area. Good luck in your new clubs. Oh, let's switch over to soccer, actually, since we're talking about some high school and former Bay Area students. First, I'll just cover the quick scores here. Bay FC beating Angel City 2-0. Nice to see them back in the win column. Taylor Huff was nominated as Player of the Week. I think the vote's been done. I just haven't seen any update about whether or not she won it. A couple other interesting notes for the U.S. women's national team, some local call-ups. Jordan Silkowitz, our goaltender for Bay FC, gets the call-up to the under-23 team. Congrats, Jordan. She's been our netminder for Bay FC all season long. And joining her, actually, is Angelina Anderson, goalkeeper for Angel City. So we just saw her face off against Bay FC, but Angelina Anderson is a Bay Area product. She went to Carondelet High. She is from Danville originally, went to Cal, and is now also getting called up to that same U.S. Women's National Under-23 squad with Jordan Silkowitz. So nice to see that. Note on the San Jose Earthquakes, they had a 0-0 draw against New England, kind of a snoozer of a match over the weekend. But just yesterday, an important win in the quarterfinal round for the U.S. Open Cup, and that is they had a 1-0 win over the Portland Timbers. Jack Skahan had the lone goal in that match in the 116th minute, so just before the game was about to come to its overtime end, we get this climactic goal to seal that victory. Congrats, Jack Skahan and the San Jose Earthquakes. They now advance in the U.S. Open Cup. I don't believe we know yet who the San Jose Earthquakes will play in the next round, but we'll watch out for that. A lot of MLS teams in there. We'll see how that all goes and wish them the best of luck. One more sport to cover, and for me, this is probably the biggest story of the week. That was the Valkyries, our new WNBA team. Opened up their inaugural season. They opened up last week with a loss to the LA Sparks. They got crushed by Kelsey Plum and her 37 points in that game. But then just yesterday, Valkyries get their first ever win as a franchise, winning over Washington Mystics. Crazy game there. It was great to see. I was there in person. It was a great vibe there in Valhalla, like we like to say. Veronica Burton was our high scorer there, which is great coming off of the bench in that one. She looked fantastic. One note there is that one of our starters, Tiffany Hayes, was injured pretty badly there. Maybe broke her nose or something, but had to be escorted off. Did not play the rest of the game after she was injured. Hopefully that is something that she bounces back relatively quick from. But thanks for toughing it out there, Tiffany. And a shout out to the Valkyries for their first ever win. The Valkyries game was a ton of fun. I brought my young daughter. We had a great time, great vibe and energy in the crowd. I loved seeing a lot of the Golden State Warriors appearing courtside and cheering on their sister teams in both games, actually, and not just the opener. Brandon Pajensky was dancing on the floor afterwards, after the victory. There's some great ticket deals already. I saw, pair of tickets, pair of hot dogs, pair of sodas, $50. I highly encourage it. It's a different vibe than a Warriors game, but that's not a bad thing at all. I think it's a different crowd. It's a very engaging one. They do a great job, and this is an incredible brand. Check them out for sure. One last note is, I see just because it's hot off the presses here, just a moment ago I got the alert. Draymond Green was named to the All-NBA defensive team. Not a huge surprise, but nevertheless an important honor for all of his work too. That concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for tuning into Silicon Sports Spectator. Always appreciate your support. We'll see you the next time. Play me out.